Yeah, yeah, as soon as, like you said, an hour later, it was nice out. Would have been fine. Jay was worried about getting home. Up his road and stuff.
Well, when you think of township, where would I had here?
Oh, I had people call later and Gumbel and anyway, so it ended out all right. So,
Hey, mute's off.
all right, you ready to go?
Yep.
We'll call to order the Lamberton City Council regular meeting at City Hall for March 13th, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. First thing is additions or deletions to the agenda.
Yes, so on the RCA's letter C, we're gonna say resignation and advertise for positions because the ambulance director portion. And then we're gonna add an RCA to accept the resignation of a part-time police officer. And then under mayor council reports and communication, I put police walkers schedule and police squad camera and body camera information. And that should be it.
Anybody else got anything else? Not somebody want to make a motion for
I'll make a motion. I'll second.
got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. By opposed? None. The agenda accepted. Consent agenda, the approval of the minutes for the 2013-2023 or 2023 regular city council meeting.
I can make a motion to accept those.
A motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
By opposed? That's accepted, motion accepted. General business. First thing we got is Bollig Engineering, Scott.
All right, thank you. You've got quite a thick supplemental packet from me this evening. I'll kind of go through that cover sheet in order. And we'll just kind of update you on where we're at on all the different kind of irons we have in the fire currently, and then we'll see if you have any questions. The first task that we're kind of working on, or the first one on the list here, is the pursuit of leveraged funding. So I've got 3 funding sources identified on the page here. That would be USDA rural development, direct appropriations from the state legislature or other funding available through them, and then a congressionally directed spending request. So we'll just kind of go in order from top to bottom. As we kind of mentioned before, the preliminary engineering report that's been submitted to USDA rural development, the application for funding from them consists of 2 components. One is the preliminary engineering report, and one is an environmental report. Since it's federal funds, as you can imagine, there are plenty of federal environmental regulations that the city has to make sure they comply with. As part of that, we reach out to different government agencies for review and comment on the project. The Minnesota State Historic Preservation Office, or SHPO, if I start to shorten it a little bit, they've recommended an archaeological evaluation on the project as part of their review. So that's what the bulk of this packet is, are proposals from archaeologists. So on behalf of the city, we reached out to, I think it was 5 different archaeologists, and we got 3 proposals back. They're included in the packet there. And so the recommendation is to take a look at those, and I've got a specific recommendation related to that, but to accept a proposal from one of those archaeologists for their services related to the environmental review of the project. And this is of the whole entire utility needs for the city for that one. And that's required for USDA rural development, basically.
Is that on all projects, or because we're close to an historical thing?
So the archaeological part is that deals a little more with project specifics,
Okay.
proximity to some of the different water bodies and that sort of thing. And then it also has to do with the type of work that's included. So if it's just, hey, we're going to replace this water main on this street, they don't get too involved in something like that. But with the scale of work the city is considering, they did make that recommendation. And I will point out that the costs for services from the archaeologists, those are project eligible costs, eligible for reimbursement with USDA rural development as part of the whole project. And once they fund a project, then those costs are eligible for reimbursement. So there are 3 proposals in there. If anybody like really dig into them, like real deep. Okay, I'll give you the faster version then.
Please.
I had them break down their services into a couple of different phases. And really the way it works is the state is recommending this first slice of review, which is basically kind of desktop documentation sort of a thing. Depending on the results of that, then they might say, okay, go kick around in some fields and see if you can find anything. And then, if there's something even more extreme, which we've not run into and I don't expect. And they've got kind of additional services available for that. So it's kind of like step one. It's actually 1A, and then the next part is phase one. So short story long, the three different proposals are in there. There was I would recommend evaluation of those proposals based on the first two phases, the 1A and 1. That's my recommendation. And so I did the math for you. The first one in the packet that's from Now, their phase 1A was 1,800, phase 1 was 6,000 for a total of 7,800. Next one, In Situ, is in there. Their 1A was a little lower, 830, but then their phase 1, the next part was 10,970 for a total of 11,800. On that 106 group, theirs was 7,325, and then 11,000 for 18,325. So the range from 7,800 to just a hair over 18,000. So we've worked with this Now on a couple of other projects, and we've been satisfied with them. They'll convey the importance of the project schedule and keep things going so that we can get the environmental portion completed so that rural development would be able to fund some work. So the recommendation that I have for the council would be to consider acceptance of the proposal for ecological services from Now for their proposal, which is included in your packet. And it would be tasks 1 and 2 on their proposal at 1,800 and 6,000. And that 6,000, that's if needed based on the first task. So it may be only 1,800. If the results of the first part says, hey, we gotta do some more, then it's actually. So
Is there criteria that says they have to, that makes them go to phase 2?
yeah, they turn in their first part into the state archaeologist at Chippo there, and then Chippo says, great, you're done, or
Okay.
you gotta do a little more. So they alone are.
No, that's fine. I just-
To do that. Questions on that part?
No, I think we're good.
Okay. So yeah, I would consider that you can either now or at the end of our time here or whenever. So we'll talk about the bonding and direct appropriations from the Minnesota legislature. It was a couple of meetings ago, we talked about, hey, let's see, there was the council, it wasn't a motion, but it was, I think there was a resolution to pursue direct appropriations from the state, basically. So your state representative and senator, Representative Thorkelson and Senator Dames, they both introduced the bill for to appropriate $2.3 million towards the industrial park. So those are bills that have been introduced. The way that process works is people introduce those bills and then they get referred to the appropriate committee, and that's where those bills are at. If you've been watching the news, you likely caught wind that a bonding bill, actually 2 bills, were passed by the state house a week ago today. One that's bonding focused, so they're borrowing money, and one that's a cash bill, spending a portion of that surplus. Those bills, those 2, did not include any specific call out for Lamberton, so that bill that was referred to committee that didn't make it as one of the line items in there. But I will point out that it does include funding for a number of programs that the city will likely use with their project. Is particularly, I'll point out the Minnesota DEED BDPI, that's Business Development Public Infrastructure Grant Program. So that's one that we've identified as a likely funding source to pay for, up to half of the utility extension stuff in the industrial park. So that's good news. That bonding bill is currently done in the House. It's over to the Senate for them to consider. There's some politicking involved that's going on right now, specifically as it relates to taxation of Social Security income. So we'll see how that works. It sounds like the House is also interested in yet another cash bill later in the session, perhaps. This stuff changes at least weekly. So that's what I know today. It could be different on the news tonight. We'll see. So that's where that is. And funds that would be available from either a direct appropriation or from that DEED program. Those would be the soonest those would be available would be July 1st of this year. That's just if they're going to sell the bonds in order to have the money to fund those programs. So that's what we're thinking as a likely timeline on that. So we stand ready to submit an application to that DEED BDPI program. We've been talking with them on it, and they're ready to receive it once they have their funding, basically. So that's going on, and then we submitted on two projects for Lamberton for congressionally directed spending, as formerly known as congressional earmarks. Those are always a little bit of a long shot. We'll see. The senators have been a little more receptive to and supportive of these sorts of requests, whereas Representative Fishbach, not so much, but who knows? The requests are in, and then so we'll see if they make it kind of through the next step, and then eventually into some legislation. Those things, if successful, take time, and like I said, it's a thing I would consider to be a little bit of a longer shot thing, but it doesn't take much to try, so you're in. That's it on the funding side. Questions about funding stuff? Rural development expects possibly as soon as April might be a time when they're able to start looking at putting together funding packages as a possibility, whether for this project or other ones throughout the state. So we want to be sure we're ready to go for that. And so having this archaeological piece rolling is an important part for that.
And I did talk to Representative Torkelson about corridors of commerce, and then Highway 14 is slated to be added to that. So that would help as well.
And they've been putting a lot of funding towards like local road improvement program and road and bridge type things. So it does seem promising. Any other questions on the funding side of things? Okay, plating, this is a work in progress. We brought where we're at so far. You have this in your packet. If you have a magnifying glass at home, you can study it at your leisure or zoom in on a PDF. I brought the full size printouts just in case you want to see them. I've got both. There's not really a lot to see there, but you can just kind of see where we're at on that. If you look at a lot of plats, you can get a sense for where we are. If you don't ever look at plats, this probably doesn't mean a whole lot to you. So that's the plat. That's where we're at on that. I did have a couple of questions from the team that I wanted to bring. One was on the name of the plat in its entirety, and the other was on naming of this frontage road of Highway 14. So there's this Cottonwood River Eco Energy Park. I don't know if that's the preferred name for all this, or is Lamberton Industrial Park good, or do you care?
Well, it used to always be referred as that other one,
Yes.
but I just assume Lamberton Industrial Park, because Cottonwood County, you don't know where is that? You know,
Right. I think Lamberton Industrial Park.
Okay, we'll navigate in this direction as we're able to. And then the other one, I don't expect an answer today or anything, but think about,
How soon does that have to be picked?
well, as soon as we want to sell any lots.
Okay,
So I'd say we've got a little bit of time.
okay.
And then the other piece to think about is the name of this frontage road here. So,
Well, that's what I guess the question was,
Yeah.
is that, how soon do we need that?
yeah, I'd say we've got some time, at least a month.
Okay,
So think about that. It does have in here currently platted is this one kind of adjoins over here, right? This little guy right there, where the access is up the highway right now, is platted as Cottonwood Street. So there you go. If that means anything to you.
That would be an avenue though.
Yeah.
East and west, so,
should be changed to Avenue.
well, no,
no,
it
the
would
north
be.
south
The one he's talking about now would be an avenue.
Yeah.
Cottonwood is a street, north and south, just a little jaunt there.
So this would be east west, and then, and that's a good point, this one that comes off of First Avenue West, we just continue with that name probably, unless anybody
Yeah.
really wants to confuse people, so. So I'll think about that a little bit. And then, if that is all looking good, then we'll keep working on it, and, nobody says, hey, change your mind or anything, we'll keep going. So if that sounds good, if you wanted to make a motion to that effect, you can, otherwise we'll keep working.
Working out.
And then, the next item is, I've got a task order for your consideration for final design of all of the, work for the industrial park as well as Grove Street. And that's the very final page in that packet. The dollar amount, is $465,000. I do remember it. There we go. So that dollar amount is the total design cost for both of those two pieces. This is consistent with all the cost estimates that you've seen on this project so far. This is part of those numbers. And then in our prior task order includes $16,000 for kind of the preliminary design of the utilities to get us to this point. So that the line item in there for preliminary design phase excludes that part that's already been authorized separately. So what do you get for this? You get full design construction plans ready for bidding for this industrial park phase 1, as well as the Grove Street project. We talked about when we think the funding is likely to be available, not until July 1st. And so as we think about some of our overall goals here, we've got the goal of getting the city's funds, 400, just shy of 500,000. That's got to be spent by October, getting that kind of invested into the project so that we can avoid kind of having that money expire or get into that arbitrage situation. We talked about that back in, was it November? October, a while back, this past fall. So the key piece is that it accomplishes that. And then it really gets you ready to go once that funding is available. Then it gets you to be able to go to construction as quickly as possible. With that funding timing, I would expect we may be able to put something out to bid this year. It might be something where the contractor may be able to get a little bit of a start on a project kind of in fall time, but with material availability and lead times, I would expect the bulk of construction likely to be 2024 if funds are received as we would expect them to be. So that's kind of the ask. I think it's important to be ready with the design work. Otherwise, when you get this big gap between funding becoming available and then the actual bidding for the construction, as we've seen in the last 2 years, some of these estimated costs those estimates get real old real fast. And so being able to bring something to bid as quickly as possible after that funding is secured, I think it would be a good move. So.
In talking to Chris, he said that this whole amount would be basically acceptable for our portion of the funding.
Correct.
Partial of our portion of the funding so it's if we spend this, then it'll go towards our portion of whatever
That is
the financing is.
Yep.
Is there an additional amount that you know of that we would have to provide for matching funding or anything?
So that is a good question. That deed BDPI program that'll fund up to 50%. So I think and that's just on the utilities in the industrial park, right? So that one I think was around that amount that Torkelson and James had introduced, around that 2.3, something around there. And so when we talked about this initially back in November, October, whenever it was this past fall, we talked about, okay, the city has this $500,000. If we can bring along somebody like USDA Rural Development and something like this BDPI program, and if we can get MnDOT or somebody to come along with some funds for a turn lane, hey, that's really great. But we're able to use the state funds and the federal funds together because they really like when they're spending each other's money, because, well, look what I got for all this. So that's good. And then there's a portion of this that doesn't fit into those federal funds as well, because it's a utility program. So there's some costs for like street pavement and that sort of thing that aren't really a great fit with that, with the rural development utility program. And that's where those city funds really help to come in. They have additional programs or community facility program. They can help you finance the street portion, but there is a part of it that doesn't really fit with those other ones. And that's where these funds that the city has that are on the clock, I think, work particularly well. So we talked about taking that 500,000 and turning it into several times that amount. So that's what this kind of plan is. I mean, we're still consistent with that. So great question.
And he said when I was talking to Chris, that if we were to receive some funding and put this out for bids, it would be best to bid it that they could start this fall or next spring
Correct.
to get a more competitive bid.
Yes. Yep, I would say that is very much correct.
And part of that is when we did that last street project before, when we bid it the year before, we bid it late. And everything was way up, and because basically they all looked at it and said, well, if you want it done this year, you're gonna pay to get it done this year. And hopefully this would avoid that same scenario.
Yes.
And that's why we waited for the extra unit.
Like growth report, we talked about this before, but obviously we're going to do some assessment to those property owners. Does Bollick help with that process?
You guys working with David Brown Associates, or other municipal finance advisor?
Oh, Northland Securities.
They'll help, but the answer to your question is yes.
Okay,
But we usually work with a municipal finance advisor to kind of complete that team, but
Okay.
yes.
okay.
Yeah.
That's-
So having that design ready to go, having a design level cost estimate with real actual quantities of things to be installed is really a first step in that assessment process.
So how much is left out of that bond thing? Cause we did the 90 earlier, right?
Right. Positive.
So with the 465, we'd be short 40.
40 to 50.
That first one 90 or 93?
190.
Oh. On this, the one we passed in the fall. To get all this going was it 90 or 93? I can't. For some reason,
93.
That's-
Closer.
that's what I'm thinking it was.
It was 93.
Okay. $558 altogether. We'd have to come up with part of that out of city. The other city stuff, and not just the bond money that we've got from the last one. Any luck?
And the one they gave you now,
465.
it's only about 22,000. Oh, yeah.
So after the 93, how much was left in there, do you know?
I'm gonna say 393. Is left in there. It'd be 71, almost 72,000.
Well, what's everybody think? Moving forward with it? Stop.
I kind of feel like we need to keep moving forward if we're ever gonna develop it.
Exactly right. Well, yeah.
Otherwise,
It's gonna sit there empty for a long time, I'm afraid.
Well, and we've got to get Grove Street done in the next couple of years here. Or it's gonna be true gravel pretty soon.
It's closer than you think. This last,
I know.
Yeah, I remember the days in our neighborhood when we had to go out and rake the boulevard in the spring before you mowed the first time, because otherwise you would get chunks of tar, and I'm sure they're getting the same thing over there, so.
Third Avenue was that way too.
So. So you want the motion for that
Correct. Yeah.
preliminary and final
so
design?
where does the 72 additional come out of?
Would be reserves. I guess to me, I don't think I would want to touch the capital improvement funds. From the mere fact that their balances aren't that healthy in the type of projects we have coming up, as far as like, if you had to paint the water tower, that sort of thing. We kind of need what's in there.
Well, I'm assuming being it's non-budgeted that it would be out of our reserves. Which would just bring the reserves down, but quite frankly, that's kind of what the reserves are there for.
Yeah.
So.
When I talk to people about development of the industrial park, I'm constantly thinking or trying to find people for the industrial park, even though we're not there yet. I've been in contact this last month with a man from the railroad. I had contacted them about having an EDA. So some of these, like Great River Energy has an EDA to help economic development in towns they serve for electricity, because if they sell more electricity, it's good for that town to have development, but it's also good for them because they're selling more electricity. So I went to the railroad thinking, okay, do they have an EDA so that I can try to find that needle in the haystack, somebody that finds this land more attractive because of the railroad line, that sort of thing. And they don't have one, but what they decided to do is that they're starting a site and they're getting together a list of all the property along their rail line that is available for development. So that if somebody wants to develop along a rail line, they can look at the list and say, hey, this meets all my expectations, this meets what I need. So we will be on that list. So there's things like that. I mean, I'm constantly I want to know that when we have utilities, I have things going in there. We just keep crossing the fingers, praying and doing our dances and hoping that it turns out. I mean, I know it's a gamble. I know it is. But It's been there for how long and it hasn't gotten nowhere, so we gotta do something.
And we're, just so I understand this correctly, for this 465, that's, if we invest that, that's gonna fix what we got here in town. And that the rest of that 2.3 or whatever that was, that's probably state and federal funding coming for the majority of that.
So that,
Or
yeah,
we're hoping, I mean,
right, so that 2.3 would be from the state, something around that dollar amount. And then whether from a direct appropriation or from a deed, business development, public infrastructure, BDPI program, likely from that one.
yep,
And then we'll look to the state to see if they've got any additional funds, especially related to that turn lane
mhm,
sort of thing. Especially if they can get their corridors of commerce updated as part of the rest of their work they're doing this session. And then the other portion would be federal, would be USDA rural development. And they're able to fund utility sort of things, water, sewer.
They would probably be our option for Grove Street, right? Would
That's
be
correct.
Rural development, that would probably be what we'd be looking for to fund Grove Street, so.
Yep, and they've got loan and grant programs, and they typically both loan and grant for a project, depending on the dollar amount and the grant need, and they've got other criteria for that. Their loans are 40 years, relatively good interest rate, so that helps a lot on the cash flow side of things. But we've got a full menu of infrastructure needs turned into that in the preliminary engineering report. And so that's a really important key first step with them. So they understand, hey, these are all of our needs here. When we think about funding these, understanding we can bring loans and grants to projects. We need to remember we have all of these needs and put those funding packages together appropriately for those, not just saying, oh, I have $1 million worth of need. Okay, here's a loan for $1 million. It's, I have $50 million worth of need. I'm going to do $1 million worth of project. Hey, here's some loan and some grants. So that's really where that preliminary engineering report is so key, and getting that archaeological part knocked out so that that part's good to go, so that they can bring that funding. Does that answer your question?
yep, it does, yep.
Okay.
So number one, we have to get this, if we go with this knee now, that would be something that would start this spring, I'm assuming, as soon as,
I think he'll start as soon as this week.
oh, okay.
He sounds like he's ready to go
Okay,
on that. And so, and that's what I had kind of shared with these guys, is like, we gotta get, this part's gotta get going really fast, especially this first part.
Mhm.
And to back, turn around and back into the state and have
yeah,
the state unfortunately doesn't open their email immediately and respond
mhm,
immediately.
sure,
On some of that, so that's where, hey, we gotta get this in and get that going with them as quickly as possible.
Well, I guess if you guys think we should move ahead with this, I think we should.
I think you should too.
So I guess somebody should make a motion to do the archaeological one and the basic preliminary and final design.
I'll make a motion.
Make a motion for both.
Yep.
I'll second it.
Got a motion and a second. Any other discussion on it? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
By opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much. And I stuck one last item on the back of the first page, if it's printed two-sided or on the next page. Just an update on the Minnesota Department of Health Lead Service Line Inventory Grant Program. I'm sure you heard plenty about lead. Oh my gosh, they couldn't stop talking about it. They're the Minnesota Department of Health, they've got a request for proposals out to consultants to be able to provide services to cities, developing the lead service line inventory. In They were saying mid-May, but they didn't sound like mid-May. It was like mid-May. They expect to have their program available for cities to sign up, where you can get assistance from consultants and put together that lead service line inventory so your public works staff don't have to do all of it. So we expect to be qualified to provide assistance on that. And we'll let you know the second it becomes available, so you can get in the front of the line on that money. So we're getting there. It's like a 20-page long request for proposals. It's got a lot of stuff. So we're working on filling that out so that we can help you guys. So, and that'll be all, it's 100% grant funds is my understanding how they have it set up. And it's, they don't even come to the city. We just, it goes to the consultants directly, and then the work gets done for the city. Basically, you say, hey, we're interested in this.
They're putting like $900 million in this service line stuff. I mean, it's gonna be funded for that.
They estimated the level of funding that they intend to supply should be sufficient to complete all the lead service line replacements as needed in the state.
Yeah.
So you got a bunch of federal funds and then put some more state money in. The whole thing's basically $1 billion.
It was crazy.
That's the only thing that you talk about.
But everybody's on the same page there, so it should go through for everyone.
Correct.
You got anything else, Scott?
That's all I have.
All right, thank you.
Thank you all very much for your.
Then we've got petitions, requests, communications, complaints and concerns. And we've got Bryce on the agenda.
Yes.
Guess I want to know where we're at with my lawn. Is there any kind of a deadline? I'm not gonna go through the whole summer without it.
Yeah.
The earlier it's seeded, the better. Is there, you keep telling me to be patient and we're following the process. What is the process?
Process is, well, go ahead. Val.
Well, I talked to, actually, before you came in, Owen and I were talking about something, and I had said, well, you know, spring's coming, and you know, that means we need to work towards that. And he said, yeah, I know. They're just waiting for snow to melt. See what spring is. Spring could be April, it could be May.
Well, I realize that, but I realize that obviously nothing can be done until the snow melts. But I want it done as soon as possible. I'm not gonna wait until June, July, August, like I've been waiting for 2 years. You know, I was at the meeting last August. I was told that, yeah, we're waiting for the process to follow through, that it might be done this fall. Well, look what happened, didn't get done. And I think I've been pretty patient. I guess I want a deadline to where I know if they aren't there and have it done by that time, then I go ahead and get it done myself, and either you or they pay for it. I think I deserve that. I've been patient enough, long enough. And I know I gave you an estimate of 3,900 or whatever through Greenway Nursery. I'm not gonna go through them. I got a couple people I've talked to. I've bought my grass seed. So I've spent over $125 for that already. I've got people that I know that are gonna come in and dig out the gravel that's there, replace it with good dirt. I've got a person coming in that will seed it for me. So it's not gonna cost $3,900. But I want a deadline. I want to know, either they're there by this date, or I go ahead and have it done and either you pay for it or they pay for it. I think I deserve that.
I would love to know when they're coming to, guys. For everything else too.
I think the biggest mistake you made is making the last payment to them. What's to say that they'll ever come back? They're paid.
Well, they want our business for these other projects too, so I think they're gonna take care of it.
No, I don't want it to be June, July, August, whatever. I want it done as soon as the snow melts, so that it gets a good start.
Yeah, I understand that. I don't know that we can give you in the dirt line of a date.
Yeah, we
So-
can't, I talked to Owen too.
I know
Is there
that's
any
not the answer.
communication with them and you're saying, hey, we need to get this done by this date?
Yes.
Yes, it's, yours isn't the only project on that list that they've got. So it's a matter of getting it done, but again, we were hoping it got done in the fall. It didn't. So they should be out right away in the spring, and we will certainly stay on them to get it done right away.
And if they don't,
Well, then we're gonna have to move on, but we gotta give them the chance to get it done first, so
and how long is that chance?
I don't know.
Like I said, I'm not gonna wait.
If we sat here right now, Bryce, and told you May 1st and it snowed the entire month of April,
I understand.
well,
that.
so we can't give you a date is what I keep telling you is we just can't give you a date. Hopefully it gets done very soon in the spring when it's able to. But that's why we can't give you a date either, is because we don't know if winter's ever gonna end here. So.
But
we-
once the snow melts, are you gonna be in communication with them and say, okay?
We are in
by this
communication with
time
them.
Or whatever.
We are in communication with them.
Yes, because I knew you
That's-
were going to come in. I
That's,
have been in contact with Owen. I mean,
I don't
have the
think,
emails. to-
yeah,
I mean,
and I
it's-
don't think you want it mudded in either.
I don't, but I don't want it to wait until July or August or whatever
yeah,
either.
there's no reason it should wait that long. So
Right.
That's,
And at what point do I know that either I do it myself or it doesn't get done again?
I can't give you that date.
I would love to
So-
be able to give you a date. I really would, but. Trust me, we have. Been in contact with Owen. I would say every 2 to 3 weeks.
We're expecting them to come out in the spring here and get it done. That's what we're
You
expecting.
told me 2 springs ago, the same.
I did not tell you that because I become aware of this in May of last year of your lot. So I did not tell you that. I told you in the last summer that hopefully it got done in the fall. That's the only time I've ever told you anything about that lawn. So I did not tell you nothing 2
You
years
say
ago.
just you, I've been
so-
told by either.
But what I'm
Justin or
saying is,
whoever that-
we want this to get done in the spring. We are in communication. At this point, that's the best we can do right here. So we're gonna get that done as quickly as possible. We're in agreement that it needs to be
I
done.
agree too,
So-
100%.
Everybody here is in agreement that it needs to get done. It would have
What
been,
kind of pressure or whatever to put on them to get it done? Like I said, what's to say they will ever come back and do it?
oh. Yeah, they could do that, but then the next time something comes out for bid and those words get around cities and stuff too, and. So if they don't take care of you, I don't see that as happening. I don't. So,
And am I going to be guaranteed that they're gonna remove what's there and put in good black dirt
Yes.
before they do it?
That was on the actual work order.
Okay,
so
That has
That's-
to be a removal of the gravel.
right, because that's what it is. If you've seen my lawn,
I drove it on.
I picked up more rocks because of them coming up already.
So
It's not
that's-
dirt.
that's all we can basically do at this point is wait for winter and hopefully it gets done. And if not, we'll have to address. Either you do it or we find somebody else do it. So that's.
Well,
We're not gonna sit here and wait till July either.
well,
So.
I'm not
no
gonna
reason.
give up on it, I'll guarantee you,
And there's nothing wrong with that.
because I think I've been patient long enough.
Okay. Thank you. Next thing was a dog complaint, and that's been dealt with, I heard. Did you get that taken care of?
No, this one is different.
not.
I don't know if he can, or if he can find it or not.
No, I don't think he did.
Cause that's not a correct address,
That is not.
so I don't know.
So this wasn't the one?
No, that was a different one.
Okay,
Thought maybe it was the same one, but it was not. So we're unsure of the complaint wasn't a correct address, so nobody knows who actually owns that animal.
okay. It's been sent to the PD too, so,
Yeah,
okay, and then we got park for tree complaint, business complaint. Yeah,
And I know Val explained to me the reason for the action, and Justin, you had said that there was gonna be complaint, but well, the way you explained it is that there's a reason why with the trees, whether they looked a certain way or not, that you've gone to a training and
Oh, yeah. Yep.
a lot of the trees, you won't realize that they have the disease until it's, what is it, 4 or 5 years in?
3 to 5 years in is when they start showing the canopy bugs.
So,
and so that's the reason it was a necessity to remove all of the,
Correct, and say you would have removed a third of it, okay, so we wanna keep some shape. Well, the new trees aren't gonna grow underneath shape. You know, so it's better off to rip the Band-Aid off, put them where we want them, the new ones. And get everything coming up with a variety of different species and all that. And then in that complaint, it said that it doesn't affect all ash trees. The US Fish and Wildlife, yes, it affects all ash trees. The fatality rate on this ash borer is 99.8% if the tree gets. When the bug gets it,
not it, yeah.
not if, when the bug gets it. Where the elm, the Dutch elm disease, some of them did survive. Not many of them, but some of them did. There was a chance. With this, once this bug gets in, it's game over. Unless you want to inject them all. You can treat every tree. $100 and some dollars a tree. For them up there would have been probably closer to $250 a tree every other year.
It's not a one-time deal.
No, it's an every other year or every year with a different treatment, but it's a little bit cheaper.
And I understood, when I talked to Val, but I asking for
Yeah.
the others, the person that had the complaint, so they.
and again. It's been found in the area and we got a grant to help with this. And it's gotta be done.
Yes.
None of us like it, but it's gotta be done.
I agree 100%. I hate cutting trees though.
Okay, anything else on that? Zoning permits, variance request. 2301 dog kennel. You signed off on that, Justin?
Yep, it's not even close to any of them. Setbacks or anything.
I'll make a motion, that's, I'll second it.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And then we've got, for the Red Rock Central for the new school campus. Not every day you see a $43 million building permit.
Right.
But you can point something out then.
Sure.
So you have one guy that applies for a $500 project, it costs him $40, then you have a $43 million project, and they're charging $100.
Yeah.
That's
But just a
crazy.
few years ago, it used to be 40
And-
or 35 for both.
Yeah.
So there's progress. There's progress there.
I'm glad I looked at it. Holy smokes, okay, that's a little bit.
Yes.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Were you here? Anything in particular?
No,
Okay. I just want, so we didn't just bounce right over you. Okay, thank you.
Keep going up, I'm moving out. Airport to live here.
Okay, and then we've got request for council action, library board request.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. By opposed? Motion carries. SRDC Redwood County Municipal's representative vacancy.
And this is, one of the things about keeping Lamberton for development and keeping the name out there is to belong on stuff like this. I would love to do it, but I'm not a voted in person, so it has to be, somebody that's voted into office, so.
I've looked at it and I would like to do it actually, but I would miss, they meet every other month and I would miss at least half of the meetings because it's a day of the week that I just can't make at that time. Yeah, Thursday at 3:30 or something, and I would miss.
Geez, that sounds like a good idea.
Yeah. I'm assuming the meetings don't take that long.
I
It's
would
just
guess not.
I have a Thursday afternoon appointment every week for most of the year, so. So anyway, if somebody does want to do that, get your name in there and do it. RCA to accept employee resignation and advertise for positions. Well, you want these together or you want them
It doesn't
separate
much
motions?
matter. It just, instead of motion to advertise for full-time maintenance worker, it'll be advertised for a full-time maintenance worker and ambulance director.
But they're separate.
Yeah, they're separate. They're not related. As far as it's not the same.
Two positions.
Yeah, it's two separate positions.
Anybody want to make a motion on that?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion on it? All in favor, say aye. Aye. By opposed? Motion carries.
Do we need to do this other one?
What's the other one?
The police
We're
one
doing
that,
that later.
yeah,
Gotta get down to it.
well, that's next.
Do you want to do that one next, or was that
Yeah.
after the? Okay, well, let's do that one now then. So then we've got resignation for part-time police officer and then to okay to advertise for part-time police officers if needed.
I'll make a motion.
Got a motion and a second. Any other discussion on it? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
By opposed? Motion carries. And by the way, thanks to Nick and Kyle both on their service.
Much appreciated.
Okay, then we've got RCA for lawnmower upgrade payment request.
So yeah, we read that we just, this was a planned upgrade. But we didn't plan on the snow plows going to top. So now it's just kind of a change of where we'd like to take that money. So we'd like to just take all of that from capital improvement. Funds that are already in savings set aside for it.
That we've been budgeting
Yeah.
for the when did we start this, 2017?
When we buy these, are we still getting them like on a state bid? Is that kind of how we're doing it?
Yeah.
'Cause down the road, and this is, we gotta push this stuff through, but down the road, we talked about it years ago about buying and then trying to get things on a more often. We buy them on a state bid, which saves us money. We could turn around then after 2, 3, 5 years, whatever, turn around and sell them.
And that's what we're
Right.
doing with the mower and that skid loader.
Okay,
There's quite a bit of value left.
Yep,
in
yep,
both of
yep.
them,
yep,
And we're getting that back out of them.
yep,
And this way, like that mower, it's staying under warranty
yep,
type of deal. We're running 1 year out of warranty, basically.
right, yep,
That's what we're doing.
yep,
And by the time we get to that 1 year out of warranty, that's the backup machine
sure,
that we use when other one's broke or if the grass is growing like crazy,
yep.
we're both of them.
Cause we're running, we got 2 right now, is that, are those both 7-foot decks or whatever they are?
6 footers.
6 footers, yeah.
This is a 6 footer, the one we have. The old one is a 5 footer,
Oh, yeah, sure, yep, yep.
and then this one here is a 6 footer, so we'll have two
2, 6,
6 footers. There's only one spot, and now that's gone with the tree removal.
yep,
It was up to the city park where you couldn't get in with a 6 foot,
yep,
and it was the shape of maybe a bicycle wheel.
Okay.
Otherwise, it made no sense with a 5
Right.
footer. You're getting so much more done. with a
Right.
6
yep,
Yep.
yep,
And this new one is diesel quieter.
Yeah, this one is diesel, it's got more power.
Hmm.
We're like out to the ponds and all that.
yep,
We've been cutting back on how often we mow that. Due to cost and everything else, but it takes more horsepower now to cut that.
Yep.
The big thing on it is the noise reduction. The fuel, granted diesel costs more, but it's more efficient.
mm,
So, it's pretty much a wash.
mm,
What it is.
yep.
All right, somebody want to make
I'll make a
that
motion. I would,
just the lawnmower?
Okay,
for
yeah.
now.
I can second that.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
I,
By opposed? Motion carries. RCA for snowplow upgrade request.
So this truck or this piece of equipment we use in every single department. We do. We don't need it in there all the time. The white plow truck that we have right now, it's extremely tired. And that's the newer of the two,
Yeah.
but that was our main plow. And we did all kinds of looking. Actually went up and I looked at this one. And it's a nice truck. If we decide not to go this way, that white truck needs to go in and it has to have a bunch of work done to it.
there again, we're fixing the old, and it's starting to be Band-Aids and it's kind of.
I'm talking about it's easier for me to find parts for the 85 to 87 trucks than it is this 94 Ford.
Yeah.
You can get them from Vanderhaeg's down in Iowa, is pretty much the only place that and Glenn's Auto Parts in Springfield.
Yeah,
They can sometimes find stuff, but
yeah,
for some reason,
yeah, we got cash then, or we can,
this
This would be capital improvement, and then every year he puts 30,000 into his regular street budget for equipment.
yeah,
And so 25 would come out of that, and the rest would come out of the capital improvement fund.
yeah.
So it's there.
it's there, it's all been set aside already
For
for
it,
this type of
yeah.
deal.
Well, I'd rather see us jump into something newer, because otherwise we're gonna fix up the old and then we still got old and it's, it's Band-Aided up. So I'll make a motion to go ahead with this.
I'll second it.
Got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
By opposed? Motion carries. RCA for skid steer upgrade request.
So now on this one here. We were where I was approached if we were interested. And ours is, the current one that we have is 2018, has over 1,000 hours on it, but it is on warranty now. So I checked in, getting the same kind that we had. And that, they're underpowered. This one here is actually an upgrade, so we're getting into tracks, which will help with street removal and all that, snow removal, I should say. Less wear and tear on the tractor, because that's in tough shape. The blue one is, we haven't a green one yet, until we're up at our hour limit. This puts us back into warranty with this machine. It also, we got 0% interest over 3 years, which that's a thing of the past too now. And every year, like Val said, we put away $30,000 for equipment improvements. And this would come out, we would just earmark 17,1 from 4 out of that annual 30,000 over the next 3 years, and then that would be paid for. So I guess
That was my main concern when I seen this, is knowing what shape you guys keep telling us the tractor's in. So.
this is I would say this and the plow truck are the two main tools we use when it comes to water digs, sewer digs, work in the park, anything with that. That skid loader and that truck is what we use. The tractor, we never, even the blue tractor, we didn't use it because we knew that we needed to save it all last year until snow removal, because that's, can do it.
We've kind of talked about that as well. It really, part of the reason those tractors don't last well for us is for the type of work they're doing with them. They're not made for that, we really need kind of like a
Industrial.
Well, a payloader.
payloader kind of a thing. Just because they take the hit and
That's a little more.
right,
Designed
Taking
for-
right, right.
No.
Moving material, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
this agricultural.
right. Mhm.
And that truly is probably the next, that
That
and the street sweeper are the two.
are the two next on that we need to think in the future here. But I think this is, in my eyes, this is a definite.
Okay.
It keeps the way everything is nowadays, everything's electronic, and it keeps you into something in warranty and,
Yeah.
takes some pressure off us.
Mhm. Yeah, back pedal just a second. That white snowplow, that was about 15 years out of that. Is that probably about close?
I would say all that.
Yep. I would say I was trying to remember when we got that, but I was just curious anyway.
That was back in your day.
Yeah, it was, yeah. Yep.
She came.
Yep.
So yes, we have the money for this. The first payment isn't until next year. And well, since I've been here, always budgeted the same amount for equipment improvements, so. It's no effect on the budget. Fiscally,
Mhm.
each year going forward. It's just,
So,
okay, now we gotta earmark that for it, which we will.
yeah. Well, here again, like we've been talking about, if we keep getting on kind of a cycle here so we can, before this stuff just get too old or loses
And
its
we were
value.
there at one time.
Right, yeah,
The
exactly.
tractor, the skid loader,
Yep.
the weight pickup,
Yep,
the plow truck was probably on the lower side.
Yeah.
The sweeper was lower,
yeah,
then we did nothing for all them years.
yep,
Well, we need to,
yep. Yep,
I think we need to. I know we need to do this.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. By opposed? Motion carries. Did the police one already. So then we are into department reports. That's enough spending money for this month.
Your head's spinning.
I'm gonna cover my head when I want to.
Well, there's a couple more things down here, but
Oh.
did we get anything library?
I didn't see one in there.
Okay. Then we'll move on. Ambulance. Don't
That's
have
okay.
nothing.
Oh,
Was it?
Yeah, there's one in there.
That's right, I did read that.
I'll make a motion. I'll second that.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. By opposed? Ambulance report accepted. Fire department. Police department, we had one attached there.
I'll make a motion to accept the police report.
I'll second it.
Yeah.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Accepted. Maintenance department.
Well, we went through a lot of stuff that I had for you guys, I guess. Unless you guys want to spend some more money. I can come up with something else.
No, we're good.
We did get all the trees removed up to the city park. I'm sure you guys all noticed that. It's gonna look like a bomb went off this spring. Because how do you clean up all the tree branches and this and that, so just so you guys are aware of that. That is definitely something that we're going to address right away. Come spring. We're gonna tear out all the stumps, so we don't have to keep having sinkholes and all that, where we can. Not gonna go by the fiber optic lines, but everything else we will. The other thing that I'm gonna say is with only me and the street department right now, the maintenance department. Our busy time is coming up here. If Mother Nature ever decides to
Oh, no.
quit snowing. And I just want everybody to be aware that in the spring, everything needs to be done at once. And depending on who we hire or who we find, how green they are, or the experience level, this and that. Things might be a little bit behind where they normally are every year. So just so everybody is aware of that, I mean. I'll do my best, to keep everything going, but my main concerns are the water, sewer, storm sewers. And then parks, and the pool is bottom of the list when it comes, because there's just to be very. We gotta get everything else going first, so I just wanted to bring that to your guys' attention, so you're aware of it.
What all needs done with the pool this year? Is it,
Oh, there's a mess up there in the deep end, there's lots of pipes, and I got cement taken out. Yeah, it's a disaster.
is there a possibility of it not opening this year, you think?
Depends. It all depends. I mean, it just depends. I will do my best.
That's all you can do.
That's all I wanted to say with my piece on that. I mean, I'm gonna obviously not try to let too much stuff go by, but put the hottest fires out as they come. That's all I can do.
If you need help, I'll volunteer to come and help do some mowing or something if you need someone to get
We need sticks picked up.
I'll help.
a sticker or that too, or whatever, yeah.
I'll help you with sticks.
Yeah, no, I can help. I mean, if you need something,
We'll help
a
you.
couple days a week or something, yeah, or after.
And I appreciate that, and like I said, we gotta wait. Can't do anything until
Yeah,
No, right.
the snow starts.
and we might never see green grass in my. That's the way it's going, so.
Every time we do it, it seems like it's 2 days later.
Yeah.
Sit in the corner and think about what you just said.
Unless any of you guys got anything more for me, I don't have a whole lot, it's just, I just wanted to bring it to your guys' attention, make you aware of that. And I mean, we'll do the best that we can.
Yeah.
With what we got, so.
We'll get through it.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I'll make a motion to accept the maintenance report.
I'll second it.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
By opposed? Word accepted. Administration EDA.
So I was just gonna add to that, I did attend the Capitol Hill Day Thursday in St. Paul. Learned quite a bit. Talked to both, Representative Torkelson and Senator Dames, on a few issues, you know, the industrial park was in there, but I also talked to them about the ambulance services in the area, property taxes and the home exclusion homestead exclusion portion of the property tax and how it affects the small towns. And things like that. It all went really well. I learned quite a bit and it's good. If there's something else. Yeah.
So, do you have anything to share from the meeting in Wabasso?
Oh, Wabasso. So the Wabasso ambulance, put together a meeting. Centricare ambulance was there, Wabasso ambulance was there, the Redwood County Sheriff was there. And the administrators for the Wabasso nursing home are there. The biggest part of that meeting had to do with the amount of calls that Wabasso's getting that are non-emergent. Wabasso since December 1st has done 91 ambulance calls. So they're doing 1.2 calls a day. 31 of them have come from their nursing home, 3 from ours. So it's kind of an issue that tends to be what they're dealing with to the north. It was good to be in on it, but it does really put a light on how short they are and they're covering our days and how much we really need to work to get that stress off of them. Yeah. But it was interesting. I really like the new sheriff. Thought he had some really good ideas and comments. And those administrators are going to work with their people to try to get that better. And it's a touchy point because at what point, who's the one that decides if it's emergent or not? Well, it can't be us. If they call for an ambulance, you got to show up. I mean, that's the way it is. So it's trying to prevent unnecessary calls from happening. And that's a problem we have in rural Minnesota is the fact that we don't have on-call taxis that can take people to the doctor or pick them up when it's not emergent. So that's another part of that whole puzzle out here that needs to be looked at. So, yeah.
Good.
I'll make a motion to accept the. I'll second it.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
By opposed? It's an accepted. Ordinances and resolutions. All can be done in one. We've already done a couple of them.
Yeah, pretty much just makes it legal for us to.
So.
I'll make a motion
do them
for all 3.
Yeah. I'll second them.
Motion and a second. All in, any other questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. By opposed? Motion carries, resolutions accepted. Financial report and approval of claims for February 2023. And the approval of claims.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. By opposed? Motion carries. Mayor, council reports and communications, capital improvement balances.
I just wanted to make sure you have them for discussion tonight.
Are you sure these are right though?
Yeah.
'Cause
I'm
we bought things since 2019, so some of these,
But they haven't come out of SIP accounts as far as I know. The only thing that I knew was off was fire. And that's because Tom had told me, he's like, well, some of that should have went down when they bought. The other gas rig, right? So that's why it looks like 2020 or 20,000 is coming out of 2023. That's because it never came out when they bought those rigs. And that was when I was first kind of here. Didn't realize a few things. So I'll take it out this year and put it back in the general fund.
what year did we buy the ambulance? Wasn't that just? Are you still on?
I think so. I think that was right before I
That
was
would
off.
have been what, 20 then? I mean,
So should somebody out of ambulance?
well, I'm just, when I looked at this and I said, well, everything is, we're starting at 2019 going through this year. And everything's 100% yet.
Right.
In the funds, and it's like,
Everything but like community center, yeah.
we. Again, it's just a bookkeeping thing more than anything, but I know we had the money and stuff for the ambulance, but I thought that came out of like that capital improvement.
I don't think it did. I don't think it did.
No, oh, I think they just have the money in their account,
Association.
Okay.
because I think. So how do we know what's sitting in ambulance and fires association accounts?
We don't, because we're not attached to those,
Okay,
so.
okay.
yeah.
But I think the money for that.
I think,
ambulance,
I think
they
you're
had-
probably right, yeah.
I think
they did.
I think I remember.
Yep.
I wouldn't remember, I remember that.
But then it also begs the conversation on. Why are we putting away that much each year for the ambulance?
I think it started when we were paying more, right?
No, because
No.
this is capital improvement.
Yeah,
This is just to buy equipment and.
Right.
And in case, something needs to
Right.
be replaced or,
yeah.
Right.
or,
So I mean, now they're up to a decent amount again, but really, they shouldn't need a new ambulance for a while. I mean, yeah, there's.
It's not running all day.
Right.
but they are expensive, so
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
it takes a long time to get built up there.
But, yeah. So,
It's just something like I said, it surprised me when
Yeah.
I seen them. That they were all basically.
Right.
Everything we had kind of put was still there. And it's,
outside of the ambulance, have you made any other really big purchases? Like fire?
No,
So, I mean, yeah.
it seems like Justin's buying something every other month.
Three of them just.
I'll be where you.
Not for a long time.
Exactly.
I've been scamming stuff together.
It's the farmer. Balaam here.
And I guess I didn't realize. I'll talk to you about that, but like the EDA. I thought the amount of money we were putting there was going towards the wages and stuff, but
I think that's just in the general budget.
okay,
This is just, and I don't quite understand
why we're putting that much?
what would SIP be first?
Right, that's the other question I had, but we can dig into that, and take a look and see what's actually happening there, but. Okay, the UCAP summary. I had a couple questions on that. Some of these. Where they're not doing them, basically, it looks like.
Yeah,
Well, that's what I'm assuming the OFB means. I don't even know exactly what that,
right. Well, there's out for bids is the OSB.
okay, So they're still doing
Yeah.
those then?
There's just that top one
Okay.
that was dropped. And then out for bids. They must have to pay like a deposit. $450 and then. And then they go from there.
Okay, then we've got the police schedule and camera info.
Yeah, the camera info, I did ask him if he wanted me to do an RCA for the camera or. Technically, he has that money in his equipment budget for this year, so he maybe could purchase it. He's a little afraid to make that purchase. Cause it would eat up most of his equipment budget. Being that he's, only been here, 3 weeks or so. He's a little worried, but he just wanted to let you know that's what he's looking at. He's gonna contact some larger agencies. Sometimes they trade out equipment. Just because they got a new vehicle, it's not that it's bad, so he's gonna look into that avenue. Explore it a little bit, but just so you're aware.
Mhm.
And we know it's a problem.
Yeah, we talked about it in the past, so.
We know it's a problem, it's something that he'll be looking at. And then you have his schedule, he does get married at the end of April, so he'll be gone for a stretch. For that. Yeah. But. Overall, I've been so happy, and he's really trying to. Get it all straightened out.
All right. Anybody else got anything for communications or reports? Nothing? Next meeting date, April 10th, 2023 at 6:30 PM. And if there's nothing else, we'll take a motion for adjournment.
Motion. Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Meeting adjourned.